Hello. I apologize for my delay and my break, but like I said in one of my last words there, when the Lord has me take a rest, I have to take a rest. And for one, I, like everyone else, have been dealing with extreme warfare. Basically, for me, I'll be attacked heavily because I put out my words, and then I'm attacked heavily because I put out my words, right? And the devil's trying to stop me from putting out my next round of words. And God has confirmed for me that one of the reasons why is because my words are, you know, they're factual, right? Like I've noticed that I'll put out my word and shortly thereafter I hear other prophets delivering the same word. So the Lord speaks to not just one but many of his prophets. So sometimes you'll hear prophetic voices speaking some of the similar words. And God says that sometimes the enemy tries to make it like as if there's copying going on. And don't get me wrong, there is, because not everybody is authentic and anointed, right? But he'll put out his word to multiple prophets. So there's 100 prophets, 60 of them are bona fide genuine. He's going to give 40 of those 60 prophets a very similar word, right? But he's saying, like, in my case, he gives me the word a little bit in advance, and then so I hear me put out the word, and then I hear them speaking on it shortly afterwards, right? So because of that, it's almost like I'm a bit of a pioneer in my own lane, and because of that, it buys me additional warfare. Satan doesn't want me to speak at all, because he wants to cut off those that are the pioneers, right? And so he tries to go through everybody one at a time. So I go through extreme warfare, and so do a lot of the other true, genuine prophets. And that's why. So the Lord wanted me to add that in case you yourself are going through extreme warfare. And if you happen to be prophetic, that's why you may see like several prophets sharing the same word, is because the Lord will put out the word to multiple prophets. And why you may hear from me here and there is because as I grow in my anointing and my gifts get stronger and stronger, I'm able to hear from the Lord even better as the months go by, right? It's like a muscle being worked stronger and stronger. So you start out lifting 10 pounds, and after months of working out, now you've worked your way up to lifting 100 pounds, right? It's the same thing. The more weight that I lift spiritually, the more that Satan tries to attack me, right? So I'm always going through this battle of Satan attacking me, and then God elevating me, and then Satan attacking me, and then God elevating me, and Satan attacking me, and it just goes round and round. And when God elevates me, he gets me to put out my words. I put out my words. Once I put them out, Satan gets scared. He doesn't like it. He doesn't want, because even if there's not a bunch of people tuning into the word, it doesn't change that the word's been put out, right? It's been said. It's hit the airwaves. So now it's been broadcasted. And so he doesn't like that. He's always listening, right? Just like how we know that he listens to our prayers. It's just you and the Lord, and you're praying to the Lord, but what you're saying out loud, he's always listening. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter if there's one set of ears to hear or 5,000 sets of ears to hear. Once it's being put out of my lips and out of my mouth, Satan's right there trying to listen to every word to try to halt, distract, destroy, delay, whatever he can do to try and throw obstacles in that way. So that's kind of what's been going on with me, and what has been going on with me for the last couple months. As like I said, I've been becoming more of a heavyweight in the prophetic, the more attack that I'm going through. And also the Lord has me resting so that I can sharpen up my gifts, like refine them. If I'm just consistently, putting out word after word after word, where is uh, the refinement in that, right? Where is the yeah, just like it's kind of like if he's giving me an analogy. If you eat your food, just wolf it down. How are you satisfying chewing on it, getting all the flavor from it, right? The marination of it. It's the same thing. You have to like take time to chew on things and get your gifts refined and marinate in them a little bit, right? So you have to kind of take a break in between. And also, he also wanted me to say, and this is like an update as well for the channel, is that I will put out the prophetic words when he leads me to, but he's graduating me into other things and getting me to step a little bit away from the prophetic. So that means I could put out a prophetic word every day for the next 4 days. I could put this one out and you might not hear from me again for another week or two. I only put out, like my headline disclaimer says, I only put out the words when the Lord leads me to. So there's been times that, like when before 2024 hit, when we were still in 2023, the Lord was getting me to put out words quite, quite at a rapid pace. But that was because he was using me as a watchman to warn the enemies, right? Because I had enemies listening to me, and I still have enemies listening to me. So he was using me to put out the word. And again, it doesn't matter how many views it has. Once the word gets put out, the word gets put out. And it's even like, I guess in a way speaking to Satan himself, just to say like, I know you attacked me last night or last week, but here I am again putting out another word, like, just to show that, so when the Lord leads me, because I'm not in charge of what I do and he's in charge of timing. So when it's in the Lord's timing and leads me to put out my words, I put out my words. So that might be rapid fire, that might be one a week, right? It's going to be at the rate that the Lord leads me to. And like I said, alongside of that, I'm also battling with the extreme warfare at the same time as I'm elevating. And on top of that, the Lord is also starting to try to level me and lead me, because of my level up, lead me into other things, right? That he wants me to do instead of just putting out the basic prophetic words. So there's all of that. So he wanted me to put that out as a little update for anyone who does, subscribe to the channel and check it out and wonders like, oh, gee, where's she been? Why is she so on and off? And it's because that's when the Lord leads me. If I'm on, the Lord's led me on. If I'm off, it's because the Lord's led me off. So I obey to his command. What he guides me to do is what I do, right? I don't have any control of how often I may come on, what I say, any of it. It comes straight from the Lord. So anyways, today while I was sitting at the school to pick up my kids, the Lord said to me, like, because I get my words, in visions and sometimes dreams and stuff, but the Lord said to me, as if he was talking to me, he said, the wicked don't know what a blessing is. And so I was like, oh, well, what do you mean by that, Lord? And asking him to elaborate. And he did. And he basically said that, like I've made in this word in previous words, when we're dealing with, I'm going to talk about celebrities and athletes because they're affluent, but it's not even just with that status and money. Even some of your enemies are well off. Like, even if somebody was to be making, just say, $70, $100, $120,000 a year, they're well off. They may not be rich, they may not be wealthy and affluent, but they're well off. So the Lord is saying those that have been in this position, whether it be in the political arena or the social, like in media, in social, social media realms, or if they just are people that you know of, if they're in a more affluent, they've been more well off, whereas you yourself have been kind of having more humble, humble living, right? You just live in a modest, humble home. You drive a modest, humble vehicle. You wear modest, humble clothes, things like that. Maybe not all, but a lot of the enemies that have been coming against you, they drive newer vehicles than you. They have bigger, fancier homes than you. You might rent. They might own their home. You might be wearing clothes you've had for 2 years. They are wearing new stuff. They're already in a more affluent position than you, right? So he said that they're sitting there waiting for these blessings that are coming to God's children, and they think that they're entitled to them. But the Lord has already blessed them. He's already blessed them with a new vehicle, and they're not appreciative or grateful for that. They're hoping, well, first they're coveting other people's vehicles. When someone else gets a newer vehicle than them, they're jealous, they covet it. Even if it's just deep down inside, that's how they operate. If they've just bought a 3-bedroom home and they love it and they've lived there for a year, and they find out that their friend or their relative has just, came into a windfall and they've went and bought a 5-bedroom home that's worth more than theirs, and it has a bigger fenced backyard or a pool or something, say, more amenities, now they're wishing they had that. They're coveting that. They're not grateful for what they have, right? So the Lord is saying that he's blessed in these previous years. I'm just going to go back to 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. In previous years before 2024, he had blessed your enemies. And you probably, if you know what I'm talking about, you've been witness to see these things. He's given them healthy children. He's given them loved ones around them that have supported them and been there for them. He's given them friends, like friendships. He's given them opportunities for relationships and for partnerships. He's given them money. He's given them nicer, newer vehicles, nicer, newer homes. And while they enjoyed having these things, it was from a status point. They liked the pride, so it inflated their ego and their pride. They liked how it looked to the outside. Like, look at me, I got all these friends, I got this nice vehicle, I got these nice clothes, I got this money. But they didn't appreciate the root of what it is. It's just nice to have a vehicle to drive, so you don't have to walk in the cold. It's just nice to have friendships so that you have people that are in your corner. It's just nice to have a roof over your head so that you're not having to be out in the cold. And while these people may give, like they possibly may do some charitable donations, it will never ever cramp them for one. So they've been sitting very comfortable for the last previous years, and they don't know what a true blessing is. They know what it's like to be affluent and, have all their needs met, but they've never approached it from a blessed point of view. They feel like they're blessed compared when they see, especially when they see others homeless on the street, or they see yourself or someone in your shoes that has less. They feel blessed, but it's not from a genuine blessed point of view where they're thinking, oh, thank you, Lord, on their knees saying thank you to God, because they've never had to go without, right? So my point is that someone that's never had a vehicle and been walking for the last 2 years would just be over the moon jumping for joy if somebody donated or gave them an old clunker, right? At least it runs and gets them around and they don't have to walk anymore. These enemies and these wicked people are so affluent that not only would they sneeze at that, they feel that they're way, way, way above that. They would never. How could they ever? But that they only view it that way because they've never had to walk, right? Same with being homeless. They look at people being homeless and they look down on them. But those homeless people would jump for joy if they could just live, spend a week in a shack or a shed just to get them out of the elements, right? They would eat hot dogs just because it's food. But these affluent, spoiled, wicked people haven't had to eat hot dogs. They've been able to afford top grade meats, right? And they haven't needed to live in a shack. They would never, because they're able to afford this, beautiful home. And, they think that they're good people and therefore they deserve more. So even though they already have, the Lord is saying that even though they already have a nice home that keeps them out of the rain and the cold, when there's blessings that are coming to those that have lived humbly for the last 3 years, they're so full of pride and so overinflated ego-wise that they think that these blessings are coming to them, and that when they already have plenty, they think that they need more. And whilst this is going on, they're coveting those that have more than what they currently have, wishing they could have that too. So it'd be like, say we both had no money and the Lord gave them $100 and gave you 10. You went and you stretched that $10. You didn't want to eat hot dogs, you didn't want to eat bread, but you did what you could with the money to make it stretch to feed you and your family. You were grateful. You said, thank you, Lord, for this $10, because I'd rather have this $10 and buy hot dogs and bread than have nothing to eat or drink. Thank you, Lord. They took their $100, they went and bought top choice things. They may have said a thank you or two to the Lord, maybe donated $1 or $2 to charity, and then sat back and ate their fine foods and said, when's my next 100 coming in? And then when the word goes out by the prophets that, hey, blessings are coming for God's children, these people are so spoiled and prideful that they're like, great, awesome, I can't wait for my next 100 to come in. I'm even thinking it's going to be 1,000. And they can't even concede in their mind that there's humble people out there that have been grateful to the Lord for these same 3-year span, 2021, 2022, 2023, that they've just received the bare minimum, the scraps. And not only have they made it work, they've been resourceful with what they've been given. The Lord's telling me about the parable of those with the talents. how he gave the people the talents, and the one guy went and buried and wasted his talents, and the other one reused them resourcefully, right? So that's what the Lord is saying, is that I can't remember that parable exactly, but it's in the Bible about the talents. So the Lord just put that on my mind now. So he's saying that he basically had given these well-off, wicked, affluent people 10 talents and only gave you like 3. And you were in a worse position, and you knew it and they knew it. But you did what you could with what you had. You made it work, right? And not only did you make it work, you were grateful to the Lord for all that you had, every moment of it. And they squandered it, and they coveted, and it went to their head, and it went to their ego, and they enjoyed eating and drinking and living and looking down on you and others. And the Lord tested both of you along the way, and when you had hardly any, you gave what you could. When they had triple what you did, they barely gave. And so they failed these tests, and you've passed yours. So now that we're doing the shift in 2024, and the above is going below and the below is going above, they're so overinflated over these last 3 years. And again, it's probably going back longer than that. I'm just using that as the specific time frame for this word. They're so overindulged and overinflated and prideful and egotistical from being spoiled these last 3 years that not only are they in that position and standing with the Lord, but now they think that when these blessings are coming in, that they have the audacity to think that they're the tail and not the head, and you've been the head and not the tail. But they're wrong, because they're in delusion land from Satan. You've been the tail who's now becoming the head, and they've been the head who's now becoming the tail. And I know they don't see it that way, but the Lord is saying they will. They're going to see what a true blessing is. Maybe at once upon a time you thought in that same kind of way. But when the Lord took everything from you, and there's been times where perhaps you experienced homelessness, when you got that $1,000 a month place that you had to rent, you were just on your knees every day grateful that you didn't have to be out in the cold anymore. When, you lost all your friends, and because they all turned on you when you went to the Lord, because you changed gears and went towards the Lord, and they didn't, and they, wanted nothing to do with you. You cherished that 1 or 2 people that the Lord brought to support and help you along the way. When you were on your feet walking, you didn't have a vehicle for a year or 2, and the Lord blessed you with a blessing of giving you an older clunker, and it's gotten you around for a while now. Yeah, it may not be the prettiest vehicle on the block, but it's been doing the trick. It's been getting you around. You've made do with what he's given you, and he knows he didn't give you much. He knows he gave them a loaf of bread and gave you a slice. He knows that. But it was all to test and see. And you managed to make your slice of bread stretch, and you also were grateful to the Lord all along the way. So now when all the loaves come, you best believe you're going to be the first one getting a few loaves in return. The tables will turn in your favor. But the enemy, because they're so full of pride and ego from working for Satan and failing these tests over the same time frame that you've been being tested as well, their loaf is getting taken away from them, and they're getting the slice. And the Lord's going to say, you're going to see wicked people, enemies who work for Satan, who you really are and who these people really are, and what a blessing truly is. Just to have something over your head to keep you out of the cold is a blessing. It doesn't matter if it's a 5-bedroom mansion or if it's a 1-bedroom basement suite. As long as you have somewhere to go and you're not on the streets in the cold like the homeless people you look down on, that you think you're better than, you're blessed. And as long as you have a vehicle that gets you from A to B and gets you around, it doesn't matter what it looks like as long as it runs, right? As long as it gets you there. But you look down on people that have older vehicles than you and think that you're better because you can afford more. But the only reason you can afford more is because the Lord blessed you. You recognize yourself as a child of God and say you're blessed, but yet you don't truly feel blessed. You just think that you're entitled to these things. And the Lord is saying he's about to show these wicked what a true blessing really is. And the only way you and I know that you can know when you have a true blessing is when you don't have a blessing at all. The only way to appreciate your friends that you had is when you don't have any. The only way to appreciate the home that covered you and your children is when you don't have one. The only way to appreciate a vehicle is when you're walking, right? And so, unfortunately for these wicked, the Lord is taking away their affluence, their homes, They're everything that's got their ego pumped up, he's taking it away and taking their loaf of bread away that they're used to dining and snacking on and giving them a slice like you had to deal with and saying to them, okay, let's see how you make this slice work now. You weren't grateful. You failed your test that I tested you on. You didn't act like you were truly blessed for the blessing. I blessed you and then some, right? I gave you what I gave this person, but I gave it to you tenfold. And they did this and this and this and this with their slice, and you just did this and this with your loaf. So you had no excuse, right? And so that's what we're going to see happening is that, so this is a word from the Lord to say he's given me more information. I mean, I put out words on this topic last month, the month before. It's been brewing up for 2024. But now that the year has swung over and we're finally into 2024 and we're done with 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023, and we've entered 2024 now when we're seeing this, like there's no more leading up to, there's no more warning, there's no more time. The door that was once opened is now shut, right? It's been shut effective January 1st, 2024. So the door that they had, your door was closed and the wicked's door was open. Now the wicked's door is closed and your door is open. And we're going to see this play out throughout this year. It's not going to happen in a day or two, and that's it. It's going to play out through the course February, March, April, May, June. We're going to be seeing this. And at one point in time, these wicked, affluent people had a whole entire loaf of bread, which consisted of, say, 12 slices. And you only had one slice. You knew it, they knew it, and the Lord knew it. He is now going to switch hands and give you the loaf, and you've earned it. You deserve it because you made good. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You made well done with your slice. You passed. These people didn't do a quarter of what they should have with their loaf. So now that's being taken away from them, given to you, and now they're going to get the slice. And when they have to deal with a slice, they're going to see what you went through for your slice. And it's going to knock them down a few pegs, which is what the Lord wants to do. He's not doing this to inflate you, but that's why he tested you, is so that you could be proven, worthy and deserving when he does do this switcheroo. So that because he knows that you're not going to make the same mistakes. In the Lord's eyes, if he sees you doing 10 things with a slice, imagine what you could do with a whole loaf, right? So over the course of these last 3 years, you've proven what you can do with a slice. So the Lord's ready to give you a whole loaf and then some, because he knows what you're capable of. These people were in the very same situation as you were, except the difference was they had that full loaf to begin with. They messed up. Now they're getting the slice. And so you're going to see what it's like to get to live off an entire loaf of bread. And they're going to see what it's like to have to live off of one slice. And so this is going to be a change of lifestyle for you, but it's definitely going to be a change of lifestyle for them. And so like I said, this is what I mean when I'm away for a while, is that the Lord is just refining and giving me more details, like unfolding for me more and more of what he was saying in the past. In the past, it's more vague, but as we draw closer, he gives me more of the pieces, right? So I've been making words for a while now about the head will be the tail and the tail will be the head. What's up will go down, what's down will go up. But he's giving me more details about it, that this is kind of what he's meaning, is that throughout the course of these last 3 years, while you, child of God, true child of God, have been struggling to make your slice of bread work, and you have made it work, and the Lord has blessed you along the way, even when you were down to the last crumb of that slice, somehow miraculously you still received your daily bread, your manna, right? Because the Lord made sure that you didn't go without 100%. But these people got plenty, more than what you had, and they blew it, right? They didn't have a generous heart. It blew up their ego even more. They coveted and were envious and jealous of what other people had, including your slice. They wanted to have their loaf plus your slice. And the Lord's just sitting there scratching his head, especially in the last 6 months, scratching his head like, let me get this straight. You have an entire loaf and you're still not satisfied. You want to have that person's slice and that person's loaf and that person's slice and that person's loaf. And the Lord's done with it. He's done. He's tired of seeing, and that's what we've been waiting for is 2024. He's tired of seeing these ungrateful people have a whole entire loaf and blow it away. And then his children who love him, who are grateful and blessed for what they have, struggle to make ends meet. So the testing period is over. Like I said, the lots have been cast. I said this in December. The time is up. The hourglass with the sand, it's the last grains fell out in December. There's no going back. You cannot trade in your, you cannot keep your slice. What's done is done, and they can't keep their loaf. What's done is done. It's as of January 1st, 2024, this was effective. So when we've heard like the wicked are going to fall and all this stuff, this is what the Lord is meaning, is that he has blessed them for the last 3 years. They know it, the Lord knows it, and you know it. The Lord knows that he gave you a meager amount to make do. You knew it, the Lord knew it, and they knew it. You did what you were supposed to. That's why the Lord has chosen you, and he calls you his good and faithful servant. And you will be blessed with more. These people, they think that they are you. They think they're a child of God. They think they're going to receive these blessings. They think that they're the ones with their loaf going to receive 5, 10 more loaves, but they're going to be sadly mistaken. And that's okay. Just let them walk around sadly mistaken. Just like you had the rug pulled out from under you many times, you ended up in a homeless situation, you ended up without a vehicle, you had these hardships come at you. These are the very type of scenarios that are just going to up and hit these people as well. And when they end up being homeless or struggling to find a roof over their head, they're going to just, not only will they be wishing they had their beautiful home back, but they'll just be grateful just to have, again, like a small little room to rent for the night, right? And same thing goes for food. These people had fridges full of food for months and months and months on end. And when they feel what it's like to have to go hungry a bit and make meals stretch and get resourceful and budget and coupon and do all kinds of things, they're going to miss the days that they had that fridge full of food, and they're going to wish that they had it back. And when the Lord gives them their daily bread and their manna and their slices, and they go through the things you had to, the Lord is going to teach them how, you get on your knees, whether you're eating a steak or a hot dog. Food is food, and it's better than being hungry. So no longer will they look down on other people, including you. They will be humbled just like once upon a time you were humbled, right? So yeah, that's the word that the Lord wanted me to put out for today. He wanted to say that if you find yourself on the end where you've been living humbly the last couple of years here, and you're a true child of God, and you've been grateful for your humble life, whatever it may be, just grateful and blessed and feeling blessed for the fact that you have a home, blessed that you have food to eat, blessed that you have a car to get around, you are going to receive more throughout this year. Your slice will turn into a loaf. And vice versa. These people that have been trying to look down on you and look down on others, and they've been coveting what you have when it's not much and coveting what others have when it's not much, and they're never satisfied, they're going to see what it's really like to struggle. They don't know. They think they know, but they don't. Having to choose between a grade A steak and a grade B steak, that's not a struggle. Having to decide if you are getting Starbucks today or on payday, that's not a struggle. A struggle is when you literally have a loaf of bread and a pack of sandwich meat and you have to get by for the next 5-6 days until your money comes in. That's a struggle. And, if it's not familiar to you what I'm talking about, then you might be on the side of the wicked. And if what I'm saying to you is, then congrats, you're blessed. You know the true meaning of a blessing, right? And the Lord's fixing to show them what the true meaning of a blessing is too. So I hope that this helps whoever comes across it. I hope it meets you well and encourages you, and God bless.